It started with a sound. A tiny vibration, the faint buzz of a phone on the counter. A sound so ordinary it should have meant nothing. But in that house, every sound had meaning. The father was upstairs, asleep after another late night at work. The woman, his wife, the stepmother, was in the shower. Her voice humming faintly through the running water. And the son, home from college for the weekend, was the one who heard it. He shouldn't have looked. That was the first lie. The phone lit up once. Then again. The same name flashing each time, just a single letter, D. He waited, listening. The water kept running. Curiosity turned to instinct. He reached for the phone. No password, just a swipe, and the world inside it opened like a wound. The first message read, "He's asleep again. It's almost funny." The reply came seconds later. "You know what to do. We finish this soon." His stomach dropped. There were photos too, grainy, dimly lit, taken in the study, the bedroom, the kitchen, all of them of his father. Sleeping. Unaware. And in one photo, in the corner of the frame, there was something else, something that shouldn't have been there. A bottle of pills. The son scrolled faster now, heart-hammering. The text stretched back months. Every word, every emoji, every half-sent confession painted the same picture. Something planned, something cruel, something coming. He dropped the phone onto the counter just as the shower stopped. The woman's humming faded. He barely had time to step back before she appeared in the doorway, her hair damp, her robe clinging to her shoulders. "You're up early," she said. He tried to steady his breath. Your phone buzzed. Oh? She picked it up casually, glanced at the screen. Spam, probably. He watched her thumb move across the glass, deleting messages. Too calm, too smooth. "Who's D?" he asked. Her hand stilled for a fraction of a second. Then she smiled. "Work. Does work usually text you at midnight?" She laughed softly. "You sound like your father." He didn't answer. She stepped closer. "You shouldn't snoop through other people's things. It's a bad habit." Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp, calculating. "I didn't," he lied. "Good." She placed the phone face down on the counter, then brushed past him. The scent of her perfume, faint jasmine and smoke, clinging to the air. That night, he couldn't sleep. The images on that phone played through his head like a fever dream. The messages, the photographs, the way she smiled as if nothing was wrong. He went to the study and checked the cabinet. The bottle was there, same label, same color. Half empty. He read the name on the prescription. Not his father's. Hers. But the dosage was wrong. Too strong. Dangerous if mixed with alcohol, his father's nightly ritual. His mind raced. Had she already started? How long had this been happening? And what did "we finish this soon" mean? He heard footsteps behind him and froze. Her voice came soft and low. "You couldn't resist, could you?" He turned. She stood in the doorway, the phone in her hand, her expression unreadable. "I just wanted to know what you were planning," he said. She sighed. "I thought you might." He opened his mouth, but she cut him off. "You think you caught me. But what if I wanted you to?" The words hung there, heavy, deliberate. "What are you talking about?" he whispered. She smiled, cold, elegant, final. "I'm not the one who needs saving." And before he could move, she tossed the phone onto the desk beside the pills. "Go ahead," she said. "Look closer." He did. And this time, he saw the newest message at the top of the thread, sent minutes before she walked in. "He's in the study now. Ready when you are." A sound from outside, tires on gravel. Headlights swept across the window. The woman turned toward the door, her smile widening. You should go upstairs, she said. Why? Because when he comes in, he's going to ask what you were doing with my phone. The car door slammed. The father's footsteps echoed down the hall. The son looked from the phone to the pills, to her steady, calm face. She leaned in close, her whisper brushing his ear. You wanted the truth. Now you'll see who he really is. The study door opened. And the father's voice came, quiet and sharp. What's going on here? The son turned slowly. The woman's hand slid into her robe pocket. Her eyes stayed locked on his. He went through my phone, she said. He found everything. For a heartbeat, the room went silent. Then the father looked at the son. And the son realized, for the first time, that his father's expression wasn't confusion. It was fear. The son didn't speak at first. He couldn't. The father's eyes were locked on him, waiting, and the woman stood between them. Her hand still resting lightly in the pocket of her robe. The room smelled faintly of wine and detergent. And something else underneath, something metallic, like cold coins or blood. I told you, she said, her voice trembling just enough to sound believable. He went through my phone. He saw the messages. The father turned to the son. Is that true? The son's mouth felt dry. You should look at them, he said. Whose messages? Yours, the son said quietly. And hers. The father frowned. What are you talking about? She's been. Enough, she interrupted. Her tone changed. No longer fragile. Clean, controlled, practiced. Don't start throwing accusations you can't finish, she said. You're lying. She met his gaze. And if I'm not? The father's voice cut through the room like a blade. Both of you. Stop. But the son kept his eyes on her. She's been talking to someone, he said. Someone named D. I saw what you wrote. Something flickered in the father's face, a twitch, quick and barely there. He turned to the woman. What's he talking about? She shrugged. I don't know. Maybe the boy's jealous. That word, boy, hit harder than it should have. The father's jaw clenched. I'm not doing this at midnight. Go to bed, he said. But the son didn't move. You're protecting her. I said go. She's trying to kill you. The woman gasped softly, perfectly timed, one hand over her chest. How dare you? Check the pills, he said. The ones in the study. She's been. The father slammed his hand on the desk. The sound startled them both. Enough. Those are hers. For her migraines. Then why are they half gone? The woman's voice softened. Because I've been giving them to him, she said. He can't sleep without them. The father went still. She told me you asked her to stop drinking, the son said, his voice shaking. That you'd been getting dizzy. The father looked from one to the other. The lines in his face deepened. You both need to stop this. Whatever game this is. She's not lying, the son said. She's playing you. But then he saw it, just a flicker, the father's eyes darting toward her pocket. Something in that glance froze him. The woman noticed too. Slowly, she pulled her hand out. In it was the phone, screen dark, unlocked. She set it down between them. Go ahead, she said. Read everything. See who he's talking to. The father hesitated, then reached for it. The screen lit up. The last message thread was open. Not hers. His. From his own phone. The same words the son had read earlier. He's asleep again. It's almost funny. You know what to do. We finish this soon. The contact name read, D. The father's expression shifted. confusion, then dread, then realization. The woman's voice came soft behind him. You never deleted your messages. The father turned slowly, his face pale. You set me up. No, she said. You set yourself up. I just let him find it. The son stared at her. You said. I told you, she whispered, you'd see who he really is. The father moved toward her, slow, deliberate. What did you do? What you never could, she said. I told the truth. The truth? His voice cracked. You call this the truth? You've been lying for years. About the money, the affair, the company. I have every message, every transfer, every proof. You thought I wouldn't find out? The son stood frozen between them. What are you talking about? The woman looked at him, and for the first time, her expression softened. He didn't just betray me, she said. He betrayed all of us. Stop it, the father snapped. But she didn't stop. You were just too young to see it. The room fell silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. The son stepped back, his pulse pounding. He didn't know what was real anymore, who was lying, who was saving whom. The woman picked up the phone again and placed it gently in the son's hand. Now you know, she said. What am I supposed to do with this? Whatever he wouldn't. Then she walked out of the room, her bare feet silent on the tile. The father sank into the chair, his face buried in his hands. Don't believe her, he said. Please, don't. But the son just stared at the screen. Because the messages didn't end there. There was one more, time-stamped only minutes before. From D. He's watching you now. Don't make the same mistake twice. And below it, an image, one taken through the window of the house. A photograph of the three of them in the study, lit by the same lamp that was still burning. The son didn't sleep that night. The image from the phone, the three of them frozen under the same lamplight. As if someone outside had been watching, looped in his head like a heartbeat that wouldn't stop. Every few seconds, he looked toward the window, half expecting to see the glint of another camera lens staring back. The woman's door stayed closed. The father sat in the study, the faint scrape of his chair shifting now and then. The house had turned into a waiting room for confession. By dawn, the son couldn't take it anymore. He went downstairs, phone still in hand. The father looked up. His eyes were red, the weight of too many lies hanging in them. Where did you get that picture? The son asked. The father exhaled. I don't know. She said you were the one lying. I was, but not the way she told it. What does that mean? He leaned forward. It means she didn't find out by accident. She's been blackmailing me for months. Why? Because she knows what I did. To her husband. The son froze. Her husband? The father nodded slowly. Before she married me, he was my partner. The one who disappeared. I thought no one knew what happened. The son stepped closer. You killed him. The father didn't deny it. It was supposed to be a deal. He stole from the company. I confronted him. He fell. The police called it suicide. And she married you anyway? She said she forgave me. His voice broke. But she didn't. She waited. The words hit the son harder than he expected. Everything, the strange calm in her voice, the way she'd said you'll see who he really is, clicked into place. He looked down at the phone again. The messages, the photos, the plan. Then who's D? He asked. The father hesitated. His brother. The silence that followed was colder than truth. By mid-morning, the woman came downstairs. She wore her usual calm-like armor. The son could see the exhaustion under her eyes. The way her fingers trembled slightly as she poured coffee. You talked to him, she said without looking up. He nodded. And what did he tell you? That you were right about him, he said. But you didn't tell me everything. She finally met his gaze. Would you have believed me? I don't know what I believe anymore. She smiled faintly. That's how you start to see clearly. He set the phone on the table. Then tell me what this is. The woman sat, wrapping her hands around her cup. It's justice, she said softly. Or the closest thing I can make of it. You wanted him to confess? No, she said. I wanted him to understand. Understand what? That forgiveness doesn't erase the truth. It only makes it live longer. The son studied her face. And what about me? Why involve me? Her voice thinned. Because you deserved to know what kind of man raised you. He shook his head. You didn't do this for me. No, she admitted. I did it for him. And for the man he buried. The father's voice came from the doorway, low and raw. You got what you wanted. What now? The woman didn't look at him. Now we're even. You think this fixes anything? It ends it, she said simply. Not for him, the father said, nodding toward the son. You dragged him into something he'll never forget. She finally turned. He was already part of it. You made sure of that the day you lied about his mother. The room went still. The son's stomach twisted. What about my mother? Neither of them answered. Tell me, he demanded. The woman looked at the father, almost gently. Do you want to? He said nothing. So she did. She didn't die in an accident. She found out what he'd done. She wanted to leave. He couldn't let her. The son felt the floor tilt beneath him. You're lying. But even before he saw his father's face, he knew she wasn't. The father whispered, it wasn't supposed to happen. The son took a step back. His voice shook. You killed her. I tried to stop her, the father said. She fell. The woman stood. Just like the partner. Just like everyone who tried to walk away from you. No one moved. The air itself seemed afraid. The son turned toward the door. The father reached out. Listen to me. Don't, the son said, stepping back. The woman's voice came quiet behind him. You see now. I didn't destroy this family. I just let it show itself. He looked between them, the liar and the avenger. Both built from the same rot, and realized that everything he'd ever believed about right and wrong had burned away. He walked out, the phone still clutched in his hand, and for once, neither of them tried to stop him. Outside, the sun was rising, sharp and cold. The world looked the same. Only he wasn't. Because now he knew the truth didn't set anyone free. It just teaches you how to live with the chains. He didn't go far. He drove until the highway turned into empty fields and the world around him stopped resembling anything he'd known. The phone lay on the passenger seat beside him. Its black screen reflecting his face in fragments each time the light hit it. He thought about throwing it out the window. But he didn't. Because every time he looked at it, he could still see what he'd learned inside that house, his father's fear, the woman's calm. And the way both of them had stared at him like he was the final piece in a story they'd spent years building. He pulled into a rest stop and sat there until the sun was gone. The silence was enormous, the kind that makes you notice your own breathing. He kept replaying her words. Forgiveness doesn't erase the truth. It only makes it live longer. Maybe that was what she wanted, to leave the truth inside him so it would keep her revenge alive. After she was gone. When he finally drove back, it was nearly midnight. The house looked smaller now, hollowed out by what had been said. Every window was dark except one, the light in the study. He found his father there, sitting behind the desk, a glass of whiskey untouched beside him. The room smelled of paper and guilt. "You came back," the father said without looking up. "I needed answers." "There aren't any." "There's always something," the son said. "You just don't want to say it." The father looked up, eyes tired. "What do you want from me? I told you the truth." "No," the son said quietly. "She did." The father's expression hardened. "You really believe her? After everything?" "I believe you both. That's the problem." The father laughed once, bitter. "Then you understand what it's like to live with this." "I don't want to live with it," the son said. "Then what? You want to punish me?" "That's what she wants." The son hesitated. "Maybe I want you to feel what she felt." The father took a long breath, eyes glinting in the lamplight. "Then you already have." The door opened behind them. The woman stepped in, wrapped in her robe, calm as a shadow. "You're both still awake," she said softly. "How fitting." Neither answered. She moved closer, eyes on the phone in his hand. "You brought it back." He nodded. "There's one more message." Her expression didn't change. "From whom?" "From D." She tilted her head. "He's persistent." He turned the screen toward her. The message glowed in the dark. "You did what you promised. Now it's your turn." Her lips parted, then pressed shut again. "What did you promise him?" the son asked. She didn't answer. The father stood slowly. "What have you done?" The woman smiled faintly, as if to herself. "Nothing you didn't teach me." The son felt the weight of the phone like it was burning his hand. "Tell me what that means." "It means justice has a price," she said. "And I finally paid mine." The father moved toward her, voice rising. "Where is he?" "Closer than you think." The sound came then, a car pulling into the driveway. Headlights sweeping across the study walls. The father turned toward the window. The woman's voice was almost a whisper. "You always said you'd die for the truth." "I just made sure someone came to collect it." The son's heart hammered. "You called him here?" She nodded. "You wanted the truth. It's waiting outside." The father moved to the drawer where he kept the gun, but the woman was faster. She reached it first, pulled it out, and slid it across the desk toward the son. "Choose," she said. "Whose version do you believe?" Outside, a car door slammed. The son stared at the gun, then at the two of them, his father trembling, the woman serene. The doorknob turned. He picked up the gun. And for a moment, he didn't know who he was aiming at. The sound of the front door opening cut through the silence. Heavy footsteps entered the hall. A man's voice, steady, calm. "It's time." The woman closed her eyes, exhaling like someone finally at peace. "You see?" she whispered. "It always ends the same way." The son's hand shook. The father whispered, "Don't." The footsteps grew closer. And in that split second, he saw them both for what they were, not enemies, not victims. But two people bound by a lie so deep that truth itself had drowned inside it. He lowered the gun. When the man appeared in the doorway, a stranger in a dark coat, the son set the gun on the desk. And walked past all of them, out of the house, into the night. He didn't look back. Because some secrets don't belong to the living anymore. And some stories, once opened, can only end in silence. He walked until the road disappeared behind him. The sound of that house fading like a dream that still managed to breathe in the back of his mind. The night air was sharp, clean in a way that felt wrong. He kept waiting to hear the gunshot he'd chosen not to fire, but the silence held. Stretching long and heavy, as if the world itself was refusing to decide what had happened. When the sun rose, he found himself at a bus stop on the edge of nowhere. He sat there, phone still in his pocket, unsure why he hadn't thrown it away yet. The screen was cracked now, but the message was still there, glowing faintly. You did what you promised. Now it's your turn. His thumb hovered over it. Delete, but he couldn't. Because he didn't know what his turn meant, atonement or punishment. He only knew that whichever it was, it had already begun. He checked into a motel by the highway. One of those places that smelled like mildew and forgotten lives. The clerk didn't ask for a name. That felt like mercy. That night, he dreamed of the house again. The study. The woman standing at the desk, her hand on the gun. His father behind her, whispering something he couldn't hear. When she turned, her face wasn't angry, it was tired. The kind of tired that comes from carrying the truth too long. When he woke, he thought he heard footsteps outside the door. A shadow passed under the crack, then stopped. He waited, breath caught in his throat. Then the shadow moved on. He lay there, staring at the ceiling, wondering if guilt could grow legs. The next morning, he found a new message waiting. No number. No name. Just words. You can't keep running from someone who's already inside you. He read it 3 times before deleting it. Then he smashed the phone against the sink until the screen went dark for good. But even after it was gone, the message stayed with him. He knew who had sent it. Or rather, what had. The truth. He took a bus back to the city a week later. Driven by something that felt less like choice and more like gravity. He told himself he just wanted to make sure it was really over. The house was gone. Only the stone foundation remained, blackened and cracked. Someone had burned it down. He stood in the ashes for a long time, feeling the cold pull of the wind through what used to be walls. Something caught the light near the corner of the rubble, a piece of metal, half buried. He knelt and pulled it free. The gun. The same one. The barrel warped from heat, the handle charred but still intact. He turned it over in his hand. Inside the trigger guard was a small tag melted into the metal, a single initial carved by hand. D. He almost laughed. Of course, he whispered. The revenge hadn't ended when he walked away. It had finished itself. That night, back at the motel, he poured water into the sink until it overflowed. The reflection of the ceiling light trembled on the surface. He stared into it and saw both of them there, the father and the woman, each waiting for him to say something that would make sense of what they'd done. He said nothing. Because there was nothing left to say. He let the gun sink into the water, watched the bubbles rise, slow and steady, until they stopped. Then he pulled the plug and let it all drain away. The next morning, he woke to sunlight cutting through the curtains. The world outside sounded alive again, birds, traffic. The dull hum of life continuing without him. He didn't feel clean. He didn't feel redeemed. But he felt lighter. He walked out of the motel without taking anything with him. Not the phone, not the gun. Not the guilt. Only the memory of 2 voices, overlapping in his head. You'll see who he really is. You'll see what you can become. He didn't know which of them was right. He only knew that both had built him. And as he walked into the morning, he finally understood the price of their revenge. It wasn't blood. It was inheritance. Because some sins don't die when the sinners do. They just find new hands to hold them. He moved to a different city after that, someplace where no one knew the shape of his name. Where the air didn't taste like smoke or secrets. The apartment was small, one window facing an alley, but it was quiet. He liked the quiet. It didn't demand answers. It just waited. The first week, he didn't unpack much. He slept on the couch, ate whatever didn't need cooking, and listened to the steady rhythm of footsteps from the floor above. They reminded him of a heart still trying to beat after everything else had stopped. For a while, he thought he'd left them behind, the father, the woman. The house that held more lies than walls. But ghosts are stubborn things. They don't fade. They change shape. Sometimes he'd wake at night to the faint vibration of a phone that wasn't there. The sound came from memory now, soft and rhythmic, pulling him back to that kitchen counter. To the moment everything began. He'd close his eyes and whisper, "Not tonight." And sometimes the silence listened. He found work in a small repair shop. Machines were easier than people, broken, predictable, fixable. When he worked, he didn't think. When he thought, he broke. There was a woman who came by often, dropping off old radios, clocks, pieces of metal that seemed beyond saving. She always smiled when he managed to make something work again. "You're good with things that stop," she told him once. "I've had practice," he said. She nodded like she understood, and maybe she did. For the first time in a long while, he felt something like warmth that didn't come from fire. One evening, after closing the shop, he walked to the river. The water moved slow under the bridge, silver in the dying light. He leaned on the railing and pulled something from his pocket, a small memory card. The last remnant of the phone he'd destroyed. He'd kept it without knowing why. Maybe because it was the last piece of proof that any of it had been real. He turned it over between his fingers, small, harmless, weightless. Then he let it fall. The river swallowed it without sound. And with it went the messages, the photographs, the confessions, the evidence of everything that had built and broken him. The truth was still in him, but it no longer needed proof to exist. Months passed. Seasons changed. One morning, as he opened the shop, a package was waiting at the door. No return address. No handwriting. Just his name, printed neatly on the label. Inside was an old phone. Not the same one, but familiar enough to make his pulse quicken. A single message glowed on the screen. "You can stop looking now." He stared at it for a long time. The number wasn't saved, and there was no signal. Just that message, sitting like a heartbeat that had waited too long. He smiled, not out of fear, not even surprise. Because for the first time, he believed it. He set the phone down on the counter, turned off the light, and walked outside. The air smelled like rain. The city felt alive in a way he hadn't noticed before, cars passing, people laughing, the ordinary chaos of lives untouched by what he'd carried. He looked up at the sky, gray and soft, and whispered, "I'm done." And for once, it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like release. That night, he dreamed of the house again. But it wasn't burning this time. The windows were open, the rooms filled with light. The woman stood by the door, smiling, not secretive, not cruel, just tired and free. She nodded once, as if to say finally. When he woke, the world outside was quiet. The ghosts were gone. Only he remained, whole, imperfect, and finally unafraid of what silence meant. He opened the window, let the morning in, and breathed. This time, the air didn't taste like ash. It tasted like beginning.